All right. Welcome, everyone. Good evening here in the European time zone. Good afternoon for you, the ones who are in the America's time zone, or if you are further to the east in India or elsewhere. Good late evening for you. Welcome to this first uh, continuous testing meetup of 2021. We're very happy to have you here. We're really happy to see quite a big crowd joining today. The topic is super interesting. Um, and again, really happy to have you here. And I hope you have a good time. You enjoyed the presentation, you enjoyed the content. And if you have any comments, anything you want to mention, to share, please use the chat. I'm also very happy to see some people joining again from our previous events. Like we have Tristan today, we have Antonella, we have like it's like Gaurav is here, Jose from Valencia. Many people are here, so happy to see you all. Let's move to our agenda today. As usual, as tradition it is, we're going to start with Oksana with the 5-minute vocabulary session. And today, a topic that is going to fit with the topic of the presentation, she's going to talk about test process improvement. So Oksana, welcome to 2021. The stage is yours. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Nice to see you here again. So, I shared my screen. I hope you can see my screen, isn't it? Okay, fine. So let's start. So my name is Oksana, and as always, I do a 5-minute vocabulary with you today. So Dominique is going to speak about test process improvement in Agile environment. So I thought it would be a really good idea to look into ISTQB glossary and find some definition to this topic. So let's go. Okay, everything fine. In case you don't know, ISTQB is International Software Testing Qualification Board. The target audience actually is everybody who interested in software testing, like for sure software tester, also developers and project managers. You can find really a lot of information to testing processes, to testing definition and do LSA certification. And if you want to learn more about testing process, I would recommend to look into expert level, improving the testing process, but also you can find some information in advanced level test manager. But let's look into definition. So I found two definitions for today. The first one, it is a test process improvement, and the next one, it is test improvement plan. So the test process improvement, it is a program of activities undertaken to improve the performance and maturity of the organization's test process. The next definition for today, it is a test improvement plan. So according to ISTQB glossary, it is a plan for achieving organizational test process improvement objective based on a deep understanding of the current strengths and weaknesses of the organization's test process and test process asserts. The question is actually why we need to improve a process. I mean, I have a process that works, why I need to change it? There is only some facts that I can say about it. The first one, we will never have a perfect process. It is always a potential for improvement. We also have environment and requirements that are changed during the time or during your project implementation, and it's required constant maintenance and correction. We have always base assumptions that a better process means a better results, and we want to achieve a better results. We also want to improve our process quality and avoid errors. We also want to improve our product quality in order to correct existing errors. If we speak about classical, I mean waterfall projects, the test manager is normally a driving force behind test process changes and improvements. So it will be really interesting for me to learn from Dominique how it's worked in Agile environment and Agile projects. So, and the next some points that I want to show you today, it is a common process steps. So as soon as we decided we want to review and improve our testing processes, we need to implement steps how we can achieve our goal. So that to create the test, the improvement implementation plan. There is a different models actually that you can use. So I want to present you only one. It is ideal model. So we start with initiate the improvement process. After it, we diagnose the current situation. We establish a process improvement plan. We act to implement improvements, and we learn from the improvement program. So let's look into each stage and look which activities we are going to perform in each stage. So we start with the first one, initiate the improvement process. In this stage, we defined objectives, goals, scope, and also degree of coverage for action. We also need to choose or develop a process model. For example, you can use a standard model like TMMI or TPI Next model, but also you can create your own model for your organization. You also need to define success criteria and measuring procedure. So at the last step or at the end of your implementation, improvement implementation, for sure you want to know, do I actually achieve what I want or not? And for sure for it, you need to define success criteria. So in the next stage, you diagnose the current situation. So based on the models that you select in the first stage, you will evaluate your current testing practices and processes and create a list of possible process improvement. For example, if you use a standard process model like TMMI, you have 5 different maturity level stages. In, for example, you will see your current testing stage is on the first level, initial level. In one of my projects, we create our own model for the project and do a quality assurance health check and use the light traffic system with a red, amber, and green, and so evaluated each test process or test practices that we wanted to evaluate. So in the next third stage, you establish a test process improvement plan. So in the stage before, you created a list of possible improvements, and these improvements need to be prioritized. The prioritization could be done by different factors like risk or alignment with organizational strategy, or you can also use other factors. And depending on your prioritization, you need to create a plan for the delivery of improvements. The first stage, it is acting to implement improvements. So in this stage, the process improvement plan for the delivery of improvements is implemented. This plan also could include, for example, training or mentoring program. If you decided, or if your improvement, one of your improvements was to create or to introduce new test management system at your organization, you need to organize trainings to create user manuals, etc. You also will piloting of processes, and after it, the full deployment of new processes. And the last stage, it is a learning from the improvement program. It is very important to verify which benefits were received, and also to check with success criteria that you decided or selected at the first stage you achieve and which not yet. Also at this stage, you can do the evaluation of your test processes and to evaluate if your next maturity level was arrived or was achieved or not. And probably you need to start improvement process again. So that's all for today. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any question or any suggestion for the next topic, feel free to write me, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Cool. Thank you, Oksana. That was insightful. And it's, as always, you make a good match between the topic that will be presented and your intro. Just let me adjust something here in Zoom. Okay, so let's move forward. Before jumping to the presentation, as it is usual, we just want to thank our sponsors, Sauce Labs and Trendic, because without them this wouldn't be possible. From like the little details, such as having a pro Zoom account that let us record the presentations and share secure links and things like that, to the point to promote the meetup in different social media. And there is like a team behind all this organization that we're happy to have. And talking about the team that is actually working on this meetup sponsored by Sauce Labs and Trendic, we have the presentation from that is going to happen today. But before that, I forgot completely that I added this slide earlier today, because I just want to share that at Sauce Labs we're doing a webinar early next month about automating hybrid applications with Appium. So we're going to have Wim Selles. He's a solution architect here at Sauce, and you cannot believe how passionate he is about mobile testing. He has done many things with native and just websites in mobile testing, but now he wants to show good and great tips about how to mix these two different worlds in hybrid applications. So if you're interested, just check the link. I will share it in a few moments in the chat. But this will be around 1 in the afternoon, so Berlin time zone, or 12 at noon for the UK time. So it will be recorded as well, but just feel free to register and get into that way of knowledge. Now, like getting back to what I was trying to build, the thought I was trying to build, which is, I was saying that there is a team working behind the organization of this meetup, and one of the members, one of the persons who is also part of the organization team is Dominique. And it makes me very happy to see that one of us is also stepping to do a presentation about a very interesting topic, which is the test process when you're moving in an agile environment. I read the description of the talk several times, and I honestly could not give a better introduction than the description itself. Like, I really think it sounds interesting how to have a lightweight approach to improve testing in these quick cycles of agile testing. So I believe this will be super interesting. And as I said, I'm very happy that one of the persons that is constantly helping to the meetup is also now sharing the knowledge through the experience of over 20 years that you have gathered working in testing. So I won't continue talking. So I will just give it over to you, Dominique. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the time to share your knowledge. And please go ahead. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. So, there it is. Thank you, Diego, for the introduction. I'm glad that you're having me. I'm part of the team, that's right, but I'm only the backup for Oksana because she does the most work with you, Diego, and Severin.
Not really, not really.
And I'm working at Trendic, as you can see, and I'm sitting here in the Trendic offices alone in one of those comfortable lounge chairs, and I think I will only hold presentation in these chairs. They are such comfortable. And I'm working at Trendic as a trainer and consultant for testing, especially in the HR environment, and as an HR coach. And currently I'm writing on my master thesis. And so I thought, as it came to this, why not combine my two disciplines and write about test process improvement in HR environments. And now today I'm here and want to share my findings with you, plus value added, and I hope you can help me. I have to write one last chapter for this master thesis, and this is the evaluation of the approach I chose. And during the talk, there will be some surveys. Diego will post them, and I kindly ask you to please take the time and give me some feedback on my approach to the topic and the approach I found or designed. This will help me with my master thesis a lot. Thank you very much in advance. And why did I do it despite the fact that I'm interested in both topics in Agile and in testing and in test process improvement? That I think test process improvement stays important in the Agile world too. But then I was curious what is out there. So I did some kind of market evaluation, and a quick teaser, it was not too successful. So I crafted an own lightweight solution, and I want to talk to you about this. And as Diego said, I work in the IT for more than 20 years now. And there were a lot of challenges in this time. And the few I remembered, as I did another talk lately, where there was, with the iPhone 2007, was the beginning of the mobile first. Up to that date, it was impossible to think of having a whole computer in your pocket and being constantly in the internet and stuff like that. Then more recent topic, artificial intelligence and all the technical and ethical problems it brings. Then the Internet of Things, everything is connected now, even not my fridge, I'm old school, but someone's fridge. And so we have a lot of devices. We got short of IP addresses, stuff like that. And then last year, this virus with a lot of remote work and the infrastructure is not fitting for it and stuff like that. So I can summarize, IT was challenging the whole time I work in, and I think it will stay challenging. And as IT is a mix of technology, of processes, of tools, of a lot of people working in there, it's a complex endeavor. The picture shows a bit of theory, the Stacy matrix. I don't know whether you know it. I will go quickly through it. It's about how much I know about a problem and how challenging is it. And when it's simple, there's a simple cause effect, and this is a no-brainer. In case a problem is complicated, we have to use other tools and techniques. So this is the domain of classical project management. There are good practices, best practices, we can use them and can solve the problem. But the most IT problems are complex, as I said, and this is the domain of the Agile frameworks and the HR mindset. It's about probing, sense the impact, and then respond to it. And there is even a more challenging area. It's the chaotic area. That's you don't really know what's going on, and this is the area of design thinking, of design sprints. So you first do something, try something out, get a response, and then plan the next steps. And as IT is complex, here's a study from the German-speaking countries, which show that at least 90% of the companies that participated use Agile at least in a blended or in a hybrid way. So Agile is here and it's here to stay. And the next step was, why do people use Agile to work in this complex environment? And it's about optimizing the quality. It's about improving the maintainability of the software. It's about improving the craftsmanship in this area. It's so to improve quality. They want to improve the effectiveness of their product. They want to optimize product value. They want to continuously deliver product value. They want to be adaptive to change. And they want a better collaboration between the business and the IT to build the right product. And, oh, technical problem, no problem. They want to do it more efficient. They want to optimize their time to market. It's to reduce project risk, to this empiricism, to check out what is going on and then adapt if necessary. And they want to optimize the buildability of their endeavors. And there are some soft factors. They want to optimize the team morale. It's to optimize the collaboration in the team and to optimize creativity. And then I thought, okay, when Agile testing is there to help to be successful in Agile development, how can Agile software testing can pay in on these criteria? And I found out through literature review, through some research, that for improving quality, a good testing strategy is crucial. The testing has to support the refactoring in order to keep the technical depth low. And as always, if you don't plan it, you won't do it. So the planning is a success factor. In terms of the effectiveness, it's all about better requirements. And here the test first approach is propagated by the Agile testing community as acceptance test driven development or behavior driven design, or specification by example, help to improve the work between the business representatives and the software developers. So it's like started in XP, the best is an embedded business representative, and they're working together. For the efficiency, it's about this feedback the testing brings has to be very fast. And so we automate everything. And we start with the thing that is the fastest in execution. The unit tests, and here test-driven development is the weapon of choice for the most teams. And best thing is to integrate all in a continuous integration pipeline to have constant and fast feedback. And the direct communication and the enhanced collaboration Agile helps to achieve all these advantages. So that was about the introduction to theory, and here are the first two surveys. I hope, Diego, can you please share them in the chat? The first one is about, are these aspects of Agile testing really the most important one I found out? And the second one is about what do you think is test process improvement necessary in Agile? So take a minute or two, please, to conduct the survey. I will share the results. Hopefully it works in the end of the talk with you. So perhaps there are some interesting insights for you too out of those surveys. Good. So the first step I took after I found out, or I checked out what is important in this context is I wanted to see how test process improvement works, and Oksana showed one possibility, the ideal model. I will show another one in a second. And the second is what is there? I don't have to reinvent the wheel. Perhaps there is a good solution for this challenge. So first, a bit theory. this is the generic test process improvement model I chose for my master thesis. And as you see, it's pretty much the same as Oksana said. First, it's about to analyze the need and to obtain the awareness. It's about management support. It's about getting the money for the program. And afterwards, it's an iterative circle of analysis. And in the classical approaches and models, it's mostly the whole process, or at least a big part of the process, which is analyzed. Out of this analysis, we are identifying the areas of possible improvement and plan our test process improvement. Then the thing which is in the presentation, mostly the part, this is the most speedy part. It's then we do the things we planned. In reality, this is of course the main the biggest driver of effort. And afterwards, we evaluate what we have done and reap the benefits until there's no further need for test process improvement. But I think this is never the case. Or we reiterate the cycle. And of course, we perhaps have challenging impediments and have to handle these. So I did a literature review of a few studies on this case, and these are the models I found. And there were a few more, but as this is a scientific paper, I needed some more sources than a slide share presentation. But there is interesting stuff out there, even more lightweight as those. These are mainly, all the models are derived from the traditional world. These are the classical things. I did a lot of stuff with TPI or TPI Next, and there is an Agile flavor to this one too. The TMI Foundation had a white paper, a very big white paper, a lot of pages to read about TMI in an Agile world. It was pretty interesting. And I found a few studies that recommended test spice as the best framework for HR test process improvement, and they even have a annex for agile assessment, analysis of agile processes and stuff like that. But what I found out using these criteria was a bit of brought me very fast back to earth. Because I think when we do it in the HR world, it should be lightweight, of course. And you don't want to know how long it took only reading those three models. These are books, they are coping with the whole process, or at least big parts of it. So they are a project or a program of its own. Okay, as we saw in the generic testing process, test process improvement has to be or should be iterative, and okay, those models are iterative. Okay, there's this with the maturity levels, this is a bit hard to cope iterative, but principally they are iterative. But I found in all the three books no advice how to integrate them in an Agile framework. Because I think one main point is we shouldn't interrupt the value creation. For example, Scrum says there is no sprint that doesn't create any value for the customer. So we have to generate it, and as those test process improvement projects using these models approaches of its own, there is no time for more additional value creation. And of course, the test specific content has to be good. And there was a very mixed impression. Sometimes it was the tone was like command and conquer, command and control. There was no whole team approach propagated. So developers tests are mostly missing in those models, for example. There's nothing about working together as a team on the issue. And they were really, they said it was, we adapted our framework for Agile, but there were only very few hints how to do Agile stuff. But there was not only bad content in there, there was a lot of good content too. And for example, regarding testing strategy, use a risk-based testing strategy. There was a hint that for the risk assessment, there are lightweight methods as risk poker, for example. So there was good content in there too. And mostly those models are pretty easy to adapt as they are partly continuous and not staged. So you can choose one content you like and use it as an experiment, I think. So why not use some better approach, but use this test-specific content, at least the ones that's fitting for Agile. But before we talk about this, here's the third survey. And it's about whether you think those quality criteria are good quality criteria for the evaluation of test process improvement models. Well, I'm on the right track with my master's thesis. Okay, so as you have heard out of my talk by now, I would not recommend to use these models. Not really. They are pretty inflexible and they need a lot of effort to put them into practice. They are programs, projects, so they will interrupt your value creation, the value creation for your customers, which has to be fast, which has to be on point, which has to be highly adaptable. But I thought, why not use the partly good content of those models? And we can use them as experiments. And I came across a book by Greg Larman and Bas Wadde. It was about scaling in Agile, and they had a real big book. It has a few hundred pages where they only have things they tried out in formal projects. So in case you have a similar challenge, you can use this experiment as a starting point and put your way through. And then I thought, why not combine it with plain vanilla Scrum? Because plain vanilla Scrum has one big advantage. It's based on empiricism. It's based on the things we have seen, and then we derive the next steps out of. And in case this works, and perhaps you give me the feedback, it could work, or it works, or it was a good idea, then why not ask the community to deliver those experiments? So I could think of a lot of things I have used in test process improvement, in Agile, and traditional projects, which can be a good experiment. So now I will show you what I thought of. But first I want to talk a few seconds about why I use Scrum, because the most profane point is it's one of the most used frameworks. I think 80% of the Agile projects are running on Scrum or something they think is Scrum. Then the empirical process control, which is embedded in Scrum. It's about transparency, inspection, adaptation, and this in an iterative manner. So it's exactly what we need for the test process improvement. We have to have the transparency, what is going on. We have to inspect our process and we have to adapt it, and then we have to learn of it and derive the next steps out of our learning. Then Scrum has a strong focus on quality. Think of the definition of done. They always propagated good software craftsmanship, the guys who invented it. And one thing, which I find pretty important, is the continuous creation of value. It starts with the first sprint. There is no such sprint at Trend Zero. I've heard a lot by Jeff Sutherland and Ken Swaber. So this criteria is fulfilled here too automatically. So how do we do it? The starting point for the approach is the retrospective, the sprint retrospective, because this is the event in Scrum where we talk about how we work together and how we can improve it. And we start with an area of improvement in the testing process identified. Let's say the testing strategy is not effective. And from my experience and the work I do when I did test process improvement projects or test coaching in a more agile context, this is normally the first issue the team raises. Our testing strategy is not effective, not efficient. So in the retrospective, the Scrum team talks about it and decides to address the topic. Keep in mind that it's recommended to only address 1 or 2 process improvements per sprint. And now we have 2 possibilities. I will talk about the faster and easier one. It's about we look in all those models or the repository of good testing, practice, improvement, experiments and find something and can directly start with it. And for example, in the Agile flavored TPI Next, there was a point about risk-based testing, which is per se a good idea, and a hint on risk poker. So that's a possibility to try. And for example, in the Agile TMMI, they reference on the Agile testing quadrants, all of you know. The other possibility, I will leave it out, is we don't understand the problem 100%, or we have no experiment at hand. So then we should plan for an in-depth analysis of the process in the next sprint. But now let's proceed with the easier case. We have an experiment in this case. Let's try risk-based testing. So in the next sprint planning, which is directly after the sprint retrospective, because there's no interruption between sprints, we plan the improvement tasks and we plan them together with the development tasks. Well, because only in this case, we have the full transparency over the amount of work which has to be conducted in the sprint. And we take care that the measures we want to take can be taken in parallel with the value delivery. In our case, in our example, perhaps it's a bit blurry when we're talking about risk-based test strategy. We might start directly with the improvement in the sprint planning, as there was no risk assessment up to that day. So we should do some risk poker in the sprint planning to get an idea in which way we will work in the next sprint. And in the next sprint, we will work on the improvement. So in our case, we develop a testing strategy, try out the new methods, the new testing techniques we introduce. And in case we think this works out, we draft a new version of the definition of done, because a new testing strategy perhaps means new entries or other entries in the definition of done. And we constantly inspect and adapt on the impact and address it in the daily Scrum, as with every other task we are working on in the Scrum. And a reminder, don't forget about the ecstasy about the new improvement and all the new testing stuff you can try out about creating the real value to the customer. And after one sprint, or perhaps the experiment is planned for more than one sprint, we can evaluate in the next or the following retrospective. Ideally, we can inspect on real measurements we designed in the experiment, but in case not, there are other possibilities. In case we are content with the outcomes, we can reap the benefits and take the next important improvement, or in case we are not successful, we can decide on a new plan and reiterate. Okay. Questions so far? This was the real fast walkthrough through lightweight approach, which is not only integrated, but more or less is Scrum. And so it's per definition integrated, iterative and adaptable. It enables us to constantly and continuously deliver and create value. And we can use the test-specific content of the models of the testing community as experiments to get on track faster. Diego, would you please put in the last survey? And this last survey is about, do you think this approach is working, suitable? And I think one question is about, in case you use it, would you add experiments to the repository of possible experiments? And now I'm glad and happy to have a discussion about this, I think, very interesting topic with you. And if someone has questions after today, of course, you can mail me too, or reach out to me on Twitter, but I'm no good Twitterer and often miss it. So I recommend use email. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it and gained some ideas. And now let's discuss about it.
Great, thank you, Dominique. I think I actually shared all the links, all the survey links on the on the chat. But if I miss some, like, please feel free to share it again, because I
should be 4.
Yeah, I actually shared 4. Yeah.
Yeah, then it's fine. Okay.
Great. So I got that one right.
Okay, I hope some of the questions that came up with the topic are answered by me. And in case there are more of them, feel free to ask.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to thank you again for the presentation. Very interesting how you came to exposing what you are proposing as part of your master thesis. So I don't know. We have no questions so far in the channel, in the chat. Well, there is actually one comment from Hassan. What is new on that? So would you like to unmute yourself, Hassan, and maybe elaborate more on the question? I think it's a valid point. Maybe some of these things were obvious for you, but maybe not obvious for other ones. So I think it's valid if you unmute yourself and perhaps you elaborate on the comment, on the question. Would you like to?
Well, I understood that like that, as there is a test process improvement using agile process, but how to say, maybe I misunderstood that. I didn't see that it's the classic Scrum Agile process, but there is the improvement that I didn't really understand. You know what I mean?
Also, it was generic, no?
Ich kann Ihnen das auch auf Deutsch erklären, wenn Sie wollen. Ich glaube, Sie sind Deutscher.
Ich bin Deutscher, but let's stay in English, no problem. I think I understood what you said. I explained a lot about the process and how to do it, but there was no real improvement. That's right, because I only had a small example to illustrate, because the challenges are for every team much different. So that is one of the, perhaps I didn't emphasize on this too much, that's with the classical and those HR flavored classical approaches the problem, because they have a one-fits-all solution. And the suggestion I had was to keep it in the team and to use the empiricism Scrum provides us. Did this answer your question?
Yeah, but you know, do you have, for example, did you set up some, you know, even if it is not really in code, but even maybe it is just concept, a framework or something like that, how to get this improvement and something like that? How do you handling that whole, how to say, improvements about what we are talking?
Sorry, I didn't understand the last half sentence.
Here's a bit too much noise, sorry. But I mean is,
I guess I would maybe also invite you, if you join to the website, continuous testing meetup.com, there is a link to join the Slack channel, and Dominique is there. So if you want to like continue, you can even have a call there if you'd like, unless you,
Also,
yeah.
It's okay to postpone to our Slack discussion. Okay, I think we will postpone it. Perhaps he is able to speak to us a bit later, or we do it in Slack. I think there's another question coming in. Yeah, that's a problem. Therefore, we are a consulting company. We are not using, we are using Agile, but we don't develop and don't test really in our company. That's not our main business. We're not a product development company. But I tried the approach with one of my customer teams. And as it was the first time I tried it, it was a bit not totally smooth, I will say, but it worked. They came to the point. But we used, in that case, we used 2 sprints, not 1. But I think that is depending on the size.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Sorry, I was just handling the chat because somebody was asking how to join to the Slack workspace. So yeah, if you want to join the Slack workspace, you can head to continuoustestingmeetup.com. I shared the link there. And then you just scroll all the way down and you will see a link for the Slack channel that will open a new tab, and you can enter your email address over there, and you will get an invitation to your inbox where you can just join the Slack workspace. So great. Do we have more follow-up questions? Because I think I missed how this one was wrapped up.
I think to come back on the 2 questions, I think the main advantage of this approach would be, in case I expand on it, that we get a real big repository of possible experiments, and some of them will be out of my head, some of them will be out of the literature, and hopefully, in case we are doing this, the Agile testing community will put their experiments there too. So we will have a weekly expanding repository of those. So they will, over the long term, for every possible problem you can have in testing in an Agile team, a solution which worked at least for one team. And you can decide whether to try, give it a try, or to make up your own mind, and then hand this example back to the community. So okay, that's an interesting one.
Yeah, if you
that
want
I'm more on the skeptical side of trying new things. I think labeling them experiments is a pretty good move. I found out, because experiment is open in the result, whether we do it not, and you can always go back to the old traditional way you worked before. So I think that is a pretty good thing. But when you use Scrum over the shorter or longer, Scrum is really good in revealing the problems you have. So I think there might be some, at a certain point in time, a lot of pain in the team, and they will make up their minds how to improve on it. I hope this helps you, Franziska.
Yeah, it's basically, so that's the thing that I was trying as well, when you're like trying to introduce new processes or new ideas to the team, and you're basically asking a bunch of developers who might have been working together in a certain way for years to try something new. It's yeah, the reassurance of being able to go back to how it was is always something that's very welcome. But if that kind of disdain for innovation, so to say, continues after that period, there's a bit of an additional problem. So maybe you can share some insight onto that. If you have some, it would be very much obliged.
Every team is a bit different, and in case they totally resist to change, the first question is it a good idea to work in an agile environment? The second is, I think, do we talk about an agile environment, Francisco? So I think there should be.
So I guess in the broadest sense, at my company right now, we're introducing quality engineering. So basically we're shifting left. We're going for that that buzzwordy approach of continuous, actually making sure testing takes place at or is available at every step of the development cycle and stuff like that. So less agile, some Scrum practices, more a modern approach.
But it's real about more about the testing, not about the organizational stuff. Okay, I understand. So I think in that case, and this shift left is relatively good explored and thought through. So I think you can simply prove it. So measure a baseline. That's all with process improvement in the more traditional environment. Is measure a baseline, do the improvement, measure again, and if it's better, it's better. And I think most developers will never can't resist a technique or a process that makes them better. But it's hard to tell. There are a lot of possibilities. You can do it with the numbers, as I said now. You can do it with cheating a bit. No, it's just an experiment. We can roll back. And
all right, cool. Thank you.
I hope this helps a bit. Perhaps we can expand on this discussion, because I find it pretty interesting in the Slack channel afterwards. So
it's helpful in the sense that it's exactly what I did basically, but I think at my organization we're already past that point a little, and it's going towards the right direction. However, I find this kind of information incredibly useful for other people, because process changes are always something it comes along with a lot of overhead and like resistance and culture change and all of that jazz. So that's the actual hard part of these things, like getting teams to really follow up on it and maybe also just buy into your vision. But yeah, thank you for the pointers. I think that was an interesting talk.
But as you said it, one bonus advice, a good thing perhaps to conduct this change is do it in small portions, as I advised or proposed in my talk, because then the main problem with these process improvement stuff is they're doing it the whole way, and then you get a lot of resistance in a lot of places, and then only when you only do a small part, there might be less resistance. It is easier, and you might see might reap the fruit of your improvement earlier. So
yeah, that makes sense. Small enough changes so they don't feel the pain as much, and then you just iterate on that pain basically. Cool.
Okay,
Thanks.
Hassan is interested in shifting left, but it's not exactly the topic of today. But I think we can.
No, regarding the testing, if I understood Francisco right?
Yeah, it's very interesting, of course.
The impact of left shifting to testing, yeah, that and the experiences would also, how to say, interest me.
Oh, there are a lot of interesting questions. They are far beyond my talk. Sources of my research papers on the effects of agile organizations. Oh. Yeah, I have them at home and I'm in Berlin, but I will do what I can, Kim. But perhaps
I believe you can also share them in the Slack channel. Like if you get in touch,
course.
the two of you,
I hope I think
easier.
of it when I'm back next week. Okay, what kind of leader in an organization do you think that is the most capable of nurture Agile? This is pretty interesting. Not part of my talk, but I think the most capable leader is not one leader. It's that everyone who is in this Agile organization steps in when it's needed and lead by example. In case you have a kind of hierarchy and you need a leader, it should be, I think, a leader that has a vision and can share this vision with the teams and the people working there, so that they can make their own way towards that vision. But this was neither scientific nor do I really know it. It's only my 5 cents. Okay. Good.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we
interesting
can
turn in the end. The questions were pretty interesting, but not too much about my talk, but interesting questions, and I really liked them, and they gave me new ideas to think about. Thank you very much.
No, and thanks to you for the presentation. I think
okay.
It basically brought several thoughts on people that they were like processing, and that's how all the rest of the of the comments started to bubble up. So I think it was interesting, well received. And in the interest of time, so we're like just a bit on the top of the hour. I will start wrapping up. So again, thank you very much, Dominique, for the presentation. For the people who are wondering, and there will be a recording available in a few days. So let's wrap up the presentation. Again, don't forget that I shared the link earlier. There will be a webinar early February about Appium hybrid applications. And by the end of this month, in around about 2 weeks, we're going to have Bonnie Garcia from, he's an excellent researcher from my university in Madrid. He has developed several tools that are well known for people who mostly use Java for automation, Selenium WebDriver. So he will do a demo of on the concept behind how to use Selenium WebDriver plus the newest version of JUnit 5. So he has developed like a really cool library that you can use to simplify things on the setup. So he will share all the details with you. So yeah, join in a couple of weeks. We're looking forward to see you there. And again, for the ones who are wondering, just jump to continuoustestingmeetup.com. You will see all the content there. All the description of the talks are there. The videos will be there. And without further ado, and without sharing more details, thank you again, Dominique, for your time, for taking the time to present your research, and also Oksana for the intro presentation, and for everyone else who joined, for the ones who were asking questions, for the ones who were just taking the time to give us an hour of your time to present and to be here. So thank you very much to everyone, and looking forward to see you all in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
Bye. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye, everyone.